Hey everyone, it's Shelby here. Welcome back to A Little Literary Love. I'm glad you're with me today because today I have what I consider a very important video to me. I'm going to be talking about books that have mental health representation in them. Since it is May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And this is something that's really close to my heart, especially right now. If you haven't watched some of my prior videos that I've done here in the month of May, I have been sliding down a bad slope currently with my mental health. I have been very depressed recently. So I feel like mental health representation in books is very important. It's also very important for like me as a booktuber to be transparent about these things, just so that we know that, you know, you're not alone. Like, it's okay to have certain feelings. It's okay to have things happen in your life. We all have shit going on in our lives. And I feel like having that kind of representation in our books is so important, just to help shed light on all of these different feelings, all of these disorders that they happen, so that we can try to build as a community, and also to help foster empathy towards our fellow humans. So yes, I feel like it's very ironic that, of course, like, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and May is just so happens to be when I have started to go back into a depression. I have dealt with anxiety and depression basically my entire adult life. I probably had anxiety as a child as well, but I just didn't realize what it was. And I first noticed like depression actually when I started this YouTube journey of mine. I started my first YouTube video a little over 5 years ago, and I started it because I was in a very deep depression, and I wanted to do something that was for myself, that brought joy back into my life. I was suffering from postpartum depression after I had my first child, so I have, you know, my mental health, it kind of comes in waves. Like, it's up and down. I have better days than others, and I know that. So, but there's also, you know, things in place that I do to try to help with my mental health. You know, so here recently I did see my physician, and now I am back on an antidepressant. I know medications are not always the best thing for everybody, but that's what I'm trying. I also am very fortunate to have a good support system in place. I have friends that care about me, that I talk to with what I'm feeling. I have family that is very supportive, that I can also talk to and turn to. I currently am not in therapy, but I have done therapy in the past, so I know that's also a great option for a lot of people. So if you do have any type of like mental health disorder or whatever that's going on, just know that there are people out there that you can turn to and talk to about that, and seek help if you need it. I'm gonna try not to be too like more sappy. I also feel like if I like sniffle a lot or have to clear my throat in this video, oh my goodness. Allergy season is in full force here in Missouri, and I feel like I wake up like drowning in just yucky like snot. I know that's kind of ew, maybe TMI, but I don't know if there's like tons of pollen. I think the grass pollen is really high right now, and my sinuses hate it. Oh, I'm so over it. I'm ready for us to get into it. This usually happens like every springtime for like a couple weeks, sometime in spring. Same in like the fall, where my allergies just explode. So bear with me with that while we go through all of these books that I have. So I have a list of, I think, 7 books that have mental health representation in them. A few of these have own voices, so the authors actually also have these mental health disorders that they are talking about in their books. I highly recommend all of these books. I love them. And so if you have other recommendations for me of books that feature mental health representation in them, please leave a comment down below featuring those, because I need to read more. I think it's good for all of us to broaden our horizons about learning new things that we, don't know about. So I'm gonna stop babbling and get into these books. So first one is going to be Charm Offensive by Allison Cochran. This is actually probably the lowest steam book that I have on this list. I don't actually read a ton of low steam books. I like my steamy books, but this one is a super cute romance. It is a male romance, and it is a bachelor-esque reality TV dating show. And the romance ends up happening between the guy who is like the bachelor figure. He's like Prince Charming for the show, that is supposed to be finding a woman to marry at the end of the show. So him and his like handler, there's this guy that's kind of he's a producer for the show, but then he's also the handler for Prince Charming figure, and kind of tries to help coach him through the show. But it ends up being a romance between both of them. They end up bonding over a lot of different things, because both of these characters suffer from various mental health illnesses. So including, I've written some of them down. So we have OCD, depression, anxiety, and panic attacks. So that's part of the reason why the Prince Charming guy starts to fall for his handler, is because he has a lot of like social anxiety. He doesn't like to be touched. I think he is also the one that has OCD. So that puts a kind of a hindrance in some of the TV shows, things that they're wanting to do, like different scenes with like dating, because he's kind of awkward around all of the other women. And like I said, he doesn't like to be touched. So it kind of throws a wrench in things, but it's a very cute romance. And there's also conversations in this story about the like sexuality spectrum and like sexual identity. So I also really liked the conversations that I had with that. Then we have Phantom by Greer Rivers. This is the first book of the Tattered Curtain series, and I believe all of the books in this series are standalone. But this one is basically, it is just a modern day Phantom of the Opera retelling taking place in New Orleans. So if you've watched the Phantom of the Opera, like the play on stage or the movie, this is exactly that, but modern day. And the main character, like, she doesn't end up with, what's his name? Rolf? That dude that she ends up being with in Phantom of the Opera, she ends up with the Phantom figure, which is what we all want, right? He is like sort of in the mafia, or maybe it's like mafia adjacent, something along those lines. Anyway, so our female main character in this one, she is she has bipolar disorder, and that is in Own Voices. Greer Rivers also has bipolar. And so another thing I do want to point out before we get to any of the other books is that just because the representation for these disorders is shown in one way in some of these books does not mean that is the only way that it may manifest. There are other ways that these disorders can come to fruition. So that was something that Greer Rivers mentions in the front of Phantom, is that she is showing bipolar disorder in how it is for herself. So that may not be the only true way that disorder may be, if I'm saying that correctly. I feel like I'm kind of stumbling over words with that. But so our female main character has this bipolar disorder in this one. Then we have Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. This one is a cute little rom-com. This one is also a little bit lower on the Steam than the other ones. It's still higher than Charm Offensive on the Steam scale. This one is a standalone romance from Abby Jimenez, and this one, it features a fake dating scenario. Our two main characters are very unlucky in love. Everybody that they date, after they break up, their ex immediately finds the love of their life. So he ends up posting about this on Reddit, and she sees the post and comments on it, and they decide to meet up and fake date together to try to break the curse of their unlucky loveness. But of course, you know, things don't go as planned. As with any fake dating scenario, they start to fall in love with each other, but they both have a lot going on in their lives, and they don't know if they're actually ready for a true relationship. He is becoming getting full custody of his younger siblings, and then she is also kind of running away from her past. So I could be completely wrong on this, but I believe she has PTSD because she has a very neglectful mother and a very traumatic childhood that she is realizing in this book that she still has a lot of triggers from. This book also has a lot of conversations with seeking therapy, so I did really enjoy that. And this is just a very good book. And then we have Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. This one is a historical paranormal romance. Our main character, her mother unexpectedly passes away, and she realizes that her mother was in a lot of debt. So her younger sister takes it upon herself to try to pay off these debts by entering into this fantastical competition at this mansion called Phantasma, where people walk in and only one person leaves. And there's trials that they have to go through, deadly trials that they have to go through. And so our female main character decides to also enter into this competition to try to drag her younger sister out and try to protect her younger sister. And she ends up meeting I think he's a specter or a ghost or something along those lines in the house, and she makes a bargain with him for him to help her through the trials so that she can get to the end and meet up with her sister again and save her little sister. So in this book, our female main character has OCD. I believe this is in Owned Voices. I could be wrong on that, but I want to say this is also in Owned Voices. So I really appreciated having that type of representation, because most of the mental health representation I see in books is like anxiety, depression, panic attacks. I've seen that several times. I don't see a ton of OCD. So we have that in Charmed Offensive as well. And then this one, Phantasma. Then we have Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. This is the first book of the Skyland series. This one is a second chance romance, a divorced couple. So our female main character and our male main character have already gotten a divorce at the start of this book, and they got a divorce because of a very traumatic thing that happened to their family. And our female main character went into a very, very, very deep depression. I believe our male main character also had a little bit of depression as well because of this thing that happened. And so with this book, we're getting to this point where our female main character is starting to feel like herself again. She is, you know, moving on with her life, but they have to be around each other because they are trying to co-parent their 2 children together, but then also they own a restaurant together that they have to see each other like daily and still work together. And in doing so, you know, they're starting to move on. She decides to start dating. He also has started dating again. And they're realizing that they still have this deep love and affection towards one another. And they still have this magnetism towards one another that draws them in together. So that's, of course, where our second chance a little bit comes in. Of course, this one has depression. This also has a lot of good conversations about going to therapy. Our male main character in the past never went to therapy, but he has decided now to try, and he has started going to therapy. And it's a very deeply emotional book. Definitely make sure you're checking your trigger warnings for this one. But it's also very impactful and loving book, and I loved it. Then we have Saint by Sierra Simone. This is the 3rd book of I think this is the Priest series. This one you could completely read as a standalone. I love the rest of the books of this series, so I highly recommend checking those out. But if you didn't want to, you could absolutely go into this one by itself. This is another male-male romance, and this is another second chance romance. One of our male characters, he has suffered from depression, like very deep depression, to the point that he attempted suicide at one point. So trigger warnings for all that. Although I don't remember if it has anything on page about that. I think it's just kind of like flashbacks. And so he has decided to go to, and I don't know the exact word for this, but it's basically like a monastery, but instead of nuns, it's for monks. So he has decided to do this. And this is how he's kind of like helped with his mental health. And so his ex-boyfriend is actually coming to this monkster, I don't know where he's at to become a monk. His ex-boyfriend is coming there because he is a reporter. He writes articles, and he is coming to write articles because where this guy is becoming a monk, they make beer, and that is part of like their revenue. So his ex-boyfriend is coming to write a story on that. And of course, you know, sparks start to fly again between them, and they realize how much they love each other, and it's so good. This is another one that's very emotional. Sierra Simone writes very emotional stories, just like Kennedy Ryan. So this one has representation for depression. Then the last book that I'm going to mention in this video is going to be Feathers from the Sky by Jess Weisskopf. This is the first book of a duet, the Vengeance duet? I don't remember what this duet is called, but this is a great time to read this book because book 2 of this duet is coming out very soon. I believe it comes out in either June or July. I can't remember the exact date for it, but it is coming out soon. So this is the perfect time to read this one. This one is another paranormal romance. This is a vampire romance. Our male main character is a vampire, and he is seeking vengeance and trying to find his missing brother. And he thinks our female main character has something to do with his missing brother because she is the descendant of vampire hunters. So he thinks she had something to do with it, and he is going to try to figure out what is going on. So he devises this plan to meet up with her and get to know her. They have a meet cute where they both book this like photo shoot together, like a stranger photo shoot. There is like somebody that I see on social media that does these stranger photo shoots all the time, and I'm obsessed with them. I love them, but that's kind of what this gives. And they're doing these like sexy photos together. They don't know each other, and that like sparks their interest in one another. So they kind of start to form like a fake relationship of sorts. even though she doesn't realize it's fake, because he's just trying to get closer to her and try to find out what she might know. Anyway, so the representation with this one is our female main character suffers from depression. She is also in a very dark place at the beginning of this one. But this one I love. I can't wait for the second book to come out because there are so many twists and turns in this book. It's dark, it's very sexy, very bloody, which I love as a vampire romance. If I'm gonna read something with vampires, I need there to be lots of different like bloody stuff going on. And that has that in this book. So great book. Great mental health representation in it. Cannot wait to get to the second one. Highly recommend. But that is going to be it for all of my books, my book recommendations that feature mental health representation. So if you like this video, make sure you are hitting that thumbs up button and also subscribe if you haven't already. And again, leave a comment if you've read any of these books or if you have other books to recommend that feature mental health representation. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you being here and watching my videos. It means a lot to me. But otherwise, that is going to be it. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.